men are twice as likely as black women to intermarry for that particular year time span, 2014 to 2015.
All right, all right, all right. All right. So this is going to be an impromptu stream. I just wanted to jump on here today because I've been receiving a lot of hate over the last couple weeks. People calling me everything from coon to things that you wouldn't describe your mother underneath the sun. So I want to take some time out of my day and address everything. Okay? So the last couple videos I did, nobody really commented on the videos I did about the trades and what you can do, which is very important. But people love drama. Okay? So first, before we get started, I'm going to say fair use. Everything I use going forward, I'm claiming fair use under the United States Copyright Act, and we're going to go from there. Okay? But back to what I was saying is that I get a lot of pushback, a lot of bogus ass comments about what I'm saying, and I show you the evidence, and it doesn't make sense to me that you can't connect the dots, that you can't change your ways when presented with new information. That's what I think is the mark between smart people and stupid people. When you're presented with new information, you should be able to take that new information, evaluate it, and roll it into your way of thinking so that you can move forward and grow. Because what a lot of people claim to be what they claim to be is grown men and women, but when presented with new information, somehow they get stuck. If you told me that the sky was falling and I went outside and the sky was actually falling, and I said, nah, that can't be right, that would make me a stupid individual. That means I won't make any adjustments. I won't try to do anything different. I won't try to protect myself. I won't try to grow and learn from this experience so that if it ever happens again, I will be prepared. And that's what we're talking about as far as community goes. This is why I believe that the black community is done. I would rather tear this thing down, burn it down, and start anew than continue to drag folks along, kicking and screaming because they don't want to acknowledge the new information. They don't want to acknowledge that there's a new way of doing things. Which brings me back to a story back when I worked at Best Buy many years ago. One of the meetings we had on an early Saturday morning, we were all on the clock. I wasn't even scheduled to come in until 10 o'clock, but we had to come in at 7:30 so that our store manager, team leaders, and so forth can talk to us. And then they told us about the story of Best Buy, Circuit City, and all these stores that came to pass. Those stores refused to adapt with change. They saw that, the times were changing. They didn't update their sales. They didn't update the way they were doing things, and they slowly whittled away. And that's where Best Buy came in. The folks who were in charge of Best Buy, they recognized the trends. They understood what was going on. They saw the times and how consumers took up things, how they used different electronics. The technology was changing just as fast as you change your clothes. And they jumped on it. They studied it. They became aware of it. And they made changes to stay afloat. Now when you look around, you had not REI, but Fry's, you had Circuit City. There was another electronic store before that, Radio Shack. Those stores have come and gone because they refuse to adapt with the times. But here you are, Best Buy, all by itself, the only major electronics store still alive in existence. And they're doing the damn thing. Now you have a few small mom and pop PC stores. Whenever I can't find something without going to Amazon, I can find it locally by going to the mom and pop stores. But even they recognize that you have to change and adapt with the times. Now let's juxtapose that onto the black community. That is the very same thing that's going on within the black community. Black men as a whole are doing much, much better, but the folks who are still in the hood and stuff like that, they refuse to adapt and change with the times. It's time to put down all that criminal shit, the scheming, scamming, and everything else, and do something different. Which is what I tried to do with my TikTok by highlighting stories and show folks what I actually do for a living. I am an industrial 01 electrician. I showed a little bit of what I do on TikTok. I've also posted those same videos to YouTube, and yet I get no comments. I get a like here and there. But what I'm showing you is something that our ancestors used to do. Our ancestors, and if you believe this and you wholeheartedly believe in this, our ancestors built this country. So what's wrong with going into fields where you're continuing to build this country? Yeah, we got a bad taste in our mouth because of our history. But those things that built this country and continue to build this country is where the money is at. And I've tried to show this on multiple videos. I got 3-4 videos showing what the trades actually make, and yet I get the least amount of views on it. But when I talk about people like Umar, who are opposed to productive black men, I get a ton of videos. Likes. I get a ton of views. I get a ton of comments. See, what I do is opposed to the view that Umar has. Every time he needs a lifeline, every time he needs to keep himself relevant, he want to throw productive black men under the bus. And some of y'all who are still under the spell of the pro-black movement, which is drastically different than what it was in the 70s, 80s era when it was at its prime, 60s, 70s, 80s when it was at its prime. This movement is totally different. That pro-black movement is full of nothing but grifters. But when a young black man like myself comes along, because I still consider myself young, I'm only 41, and tries to tell you there's a different way to go about it, folks don't take heed to it. Now, if you look in the chat, I pinned the link. If you want to talk to me on StreamYard, the link is right there before we move any further. Now, I was having a conversation yesterday with a good friend of mine about how you can help all these different communities, white, black, Hispanic, whatever. We had a nice deep conversation. You know, I was in awe at this man and what he was saying to me, because it's some of the same things that I've said over the years. And I've said these things in private conversation with friends and stuff, right? But today I'm gonna bring it here to YouTube. And what he talked about was the fact that you're not preparing young men to go off into work anymore. All we got now in our education system is college prep. And the issue with college prep is that we've learned over the years that college is not all it's proven to be. You give all these young people, as well as people my age, the grandeur of, if you go get a degree, you're going to make X amount of dollars. And that expectation has only grown over the years. But the problem with our system is that it's not designed to give people the best education. It's designed to give people a good enough education that they pay for. And because they pay for it, they expect a certain outcome. Now, when it comes to folks who are overseas, they go and get all this schooling, they get all these degrees, they take all these classes, certifications, and so forth, because their job market is remarkably more competitive than ours is. There's less opportunity to go around. Their education is at the top of the top. The U.S., we don't even break the top 50 in countries as far as education goes. Last time I looked at the stat. So where a lot of our social issues come from is because instead of empowering people to make the best of themselves, we got a system that says, hey, just pay for it. Just pay for this, pay for that. You can expect a great outcome on the back end. And I'm just, I'm paraphrasing, I'm cutting straight through the BS all the way to the end result. And that's what a lot of people have fallen for. I couldn't tell you the number of people that I ran across who have over $100,000 in debt thinking they were going to get this high paying job and they don't have it. But then I can count. I met some. I know a person, right? Now this may seem anecdotal, but this person is about 50. I want to say 54, and about 2 years ago, they just hit 50 grand. 50 grand per year in their career field. And also, the other thing that she told me was that she had $180,000 in student loan debt that she carried for a number of years. And only, I don't know how she did it. I need to ask her. But she managed to get her debts forgiven. Now, imagine if you didn't get your debts forgiven and you're just now at the age of 54. At the age of 54, you're still staring down the barrel of $180,000 in debt that only continues to grow if you make the minimum payment. You'll never get anywhere. All that weight on a person who got their degrees back when they were like 20 something years old, 30 years to carry this debt. She carried this debt for 30 years with no hopes of paying it off, and had been paying the entire time. Amazing, isn't it? But these other countries, they have free education, free healthcare, and so forth. Now, I'm a fan of that type of deal. I'm a fan of us not sending money overseas for quote unquote humanitarian aid, because that is a failing of that country and they're the people running it. But we keep giving them an out. Now, I'm not saying don't have any empathy for those people, but there has to be a line drawn in the sand. We can't continue to go broke trying to help everybody out there. But I digress. But coming back to our education system, we have gutted it since the 80s. It was a slow phasing out of prepping students for adult life. Now, I'm not going to say that prepping students for college is a bad thing, but it hasn't been totally good as well. Because we've pushed this so heavily, we've overcompensated or over-adjusted. Because not everybody's cut out for college. Not everybody wants to take on a huge ton of debt to get an education for something they may or may not use. I have a degree in education. I don't use that degree. But I also have remarkably less debt than most people. I have about $11,000 in student debt. If $11,000, if including the interest that's on it. And once I saw that number, I was able to quit. Nobody had to come and tell me. Nobody convinced me to keep going. But I was working on my second degree. That's how I got the $11,000. The other one I had the Army pay for, because I took classes while I was on active duty, which were 100% paid. And that's another thing that a lot of people don't push. If you want to get all these crazy degrees and whatever it is that interests you, the military will pay for it. Yeah, you got to serve, but it's a whole lot better than, I don't know, going straight to school for 4 to 8 years, getting that master's degree and not have any of it paid for. At least with the military, they'll pay for your bachelor's degree. Anything after that, I think you got to pay a portion of it. But imagine the savings you would get just for getting your bachelor's degree, and then your master's would come out of your GI Bill. You basically pay nothing to get up to master's. And if you have enough left, you can start on your PhD program. But nobody talks about that. Nobody, not a single soul. The first time a lot of y'all are probably hearing this is probably right here with me. And I'm going to continue to talk about it. But going back to the education system and what they've gutted out of it, the high school I went to had a automotive program, carpentry, building trades, early childhood development, nursing, cosmetology, auto body and paint, and I think like one or two other things. I want to say one was business, maybe. But those things are missing from a lot of schools today. Now, I've met and worked with people from all over who come from different states, and I can literally count on one hand the different states that I've ran into that still offer the same sort of things that was offered in high school that I went to. Now, these particular classes prepared those guys to go off into career fields. They paved the way for some of these folks that went off into like programming, electronic stuff like that. Some of the people I went to high school have far surpassed me as far as earnings go and accomplishments. And I thought I did something by retiring from the military and later on becoming a high-paid blue-collar worker. But those guys are working in corporate jobs. One guy heads I'm not going to say the name of the gaming company, but he heads a whole gaming company. Now, I want y'all to think about that for a second. This was the individual who was given the classes he needed because he was interested in computers and was given a push in the right direction. You don't see that anymore in these schools. Even with my own kids, they came to me and asked me like, well, I don't know what to do. What do you think I should do, Dad? I said, well, what do you want? And it simply boils down to, what do you want out of life? Do you want to be able to go on vacation? Do you want to own a bunch of adult-sized toys? Do you want to do something that is meaningful to the people? Do you want to help people? All of these are questions that I got asked by the career counselors at my high school. But nowadays, like when it came to my kids' high school, I asked them these questions. Do y'all have a career counselor? No, they have a guidance counselor. Because we let our politicians get away with gutting our schools so they could save a few dollars here and there, is why you have so many young men in despair because they don't have any guidance. It's bad enough that a lot of young men grew up without their dads due to social issues. I'm not blaming the dads at all. But due to social issues and the interaction between the folks that made you, it makes it hard to be a father these days. It makes it hard for you to be in a picture. So I'll give you an example. Say you end up on child support. All of a sudden, the relationship breaks down for whatever reason, and you end up on child support. You now, and the part that a lot of people don't talk about, you now have to work harder to make up for what you pay in child support. Nobody out here is balling out of control. Nobody's regular shift job, if you took about a third of their income away, would be able to survive. So if you're making $1,000 every 2 weeks and somebody takes, $300 of that, $399 of that, it's going to suck. It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt a lot. So guess what you got to do then? You got to go out and get a second job to make up for that $400 so you can take care of your children. But it also means that you have less time to spend with your children. And a lot of folks forget that. A lot of people don't care. Well, you should take care of your kids. They don't care what you got to go through. They don't care that, you're working 18 hours a day, barely enough time to eat and sleep. They don't care. Just make sure you can take care of your children. And this is why a lot of men have heartache about the current system. But the thing is, when you prepare young men to take care of themselves, tell them don't do all the garbage that's out there, don't listen to the music, don't deal with a bunch of women, because hell, in my opinion, it's always been the music that's always pushed that you're not the man unless you deal with a bunch of women, and I say bullshit. That's complete garbage. It is. But the removal of all this stuff from the schools and the non-existent pressure from the people that live in those areas contributes to the overall problem. And I don't understand why people don't understand that. You ask them folks that graduated in the 80s, 70s, and 60s, when they came out of school, they had a better education, they had a better idea of what they wanted to do with life, and a lot of them ended up being better off. Nowadays, with the current generation, they're blaming us. I'm an older millennial. I don't really blame anybody for where I ended up in life because I learned a lot, and I'm okay with where I'm at because I'm doing a whole lot better than most, for one, and I'm genuinely happy because I know that what I've done with my life is within my hands. But when my friend was talking about how bad these areas have and what the government can do, they don't have to give us entire, and you don't have to help us entirely. Just put the stuff back that they took away. You're trying to save money and cut costs. You don't cut costs when it comes to our children. If you claim that children are a precious resource, why would you take from them? Children are a resource, and then you take supporting resources from them. What do you think was going to happen? Grown people can't take a major hit and recover. It's very difficult for them to do. And yet they have all this knowledge and experience. What do you think happens to our children when you take resources away from them? Do they make it to adulthood? Do they learn to use the tools? Or do they learn how to work with less or just give up completely? The latter is what we're seeing today. No hope, no help, no resources. So taking the trades out of schools was detrimental to our society. You're talking about whole communities of people with no work experience, no knowledge on how to do anything. And we're just talking about the worst parts of our society. Not as in they're bad people, but they don't have much. And all because people want to gut the education system and gut this, that, and the third. Imagine this for a second. If I had a whole community of people who were highly skilled workers, whether it be blue collar or whatever, those folks would probably leave the area to go find opportunities. And a good portion of those people would come back to the community they came from and rebuild it once they had enough resources. And I don't think anyone's thinking about that. It's like the same thing with Baltimore. You gutted the schools down to the bare minimum so they can pass a damn test, and that's all they cared about was passing this damn test. I remember I was there. That they let the other skills and interests of the children that went to the school fall by the wayside. All right, but now we're about to get into what I came here for, what I started this stream for. Let me take a sip. And that is the smoke. That is the smoke that people have for me on every platform that I'm on. Now, granted, some of y'all may come back through the archives and look at this stuff later, and you're going to realize that I'm right. And I'm not being arrogant by saying that. It's that I've researched a lot of the stuff that I'm doing, and I've looked at it. I've looked at studies. I've read books trying to prove myself wrong. And if I can't prove myself wrong, good luck. The link is in the description. The link is in the chat room. If you got anything to say to me about how I'm wrong in what I'm about to show you, please, you're more than welcome to come in. I only have a handful of rules, same rules as KS. Be nice to me, I'll be nice to you. Be respectful to me, I'll be respectful to you. Stay on topic, stay on task. Keep your camera off, because the minute you turn your camera on, I'm going to boot you and your argument is done. If you can't follow those simple instructions, don't come up here. Don't ask me anything. All right. So now we're about to get into it. All right. Let me jump over here to my iPad, put that on screen, drop the avatar, and here we go. Now, this is one of the videos that I put on YouTube as well as TikTok. So what you're looking at right now is my TikTok account from my view. I will show you that because I'm trying to be as transparent as possible.
Going live in about 20
let's listen
minutes
to what's
to
going
talk
on.
about Umar and this shell of a school, allegedly. I'll be answering any questions where I found information. Pretty much just looking at what he said on Instagram versus what he said to me directly. See you soon. Going live in about 20 minutes to talk about Umar and this.
All right, so that's how I started back when I posted this. This is how I started, okay? My channel has received over 10,000 views or whatever. To some of y'all, that may not seem like a lot, but to me it is, because I really jumped on this my channel really took it seriously in the last few months. So we'll continue to scroll on. Let's see what we got. All right, so this is when Cynthia G disappeared. And when you search her page and you click on it, she still had YouTube up there on Google. It was still searchable and everything. Now you can't even find it. And the minute you click on her channel, you were greeted with this. Now let's look at some of these comments here. All right, so there's nothing there. All right, let's continue on.
The Cynthia G Slade.
Because I made quite a few posts.
All right. So
Now
I'm
let's
out
listen
here
to this.
getting ready to go into work. It's 6:45 in the morning. Over here is the project we're working on. So I've worked on so many projects, so many schools and stuff like that. That's why I decided to give my input onto Dr. Umar. Now, I do this for a living. I work in the field. I can look at pictures, inspections, permits, a bunch of stuff. I can point out what's wrong, any issues they might have, and so forth. That's why I gave my opinion on Umar School. With so much wrong with that place, and looking at the previous inspections, there is no way he'll be able to get that approved. The strictest rules pertain to schools. I want y'all to think about that.
All right, let me pause that right there. Now, there's 145 comments on this particular post, 109 likes, which is pretty decent ratio. Now let's scroll through some of these comments and take a look at it. Now, I don't know if y'all can see this on screen, but I'm going to try to make this a little bit bigger for you, just so you can read along with me, okay? Now, I'm just going to do this for this particular video. Now, let's look at what this individual had to say. Yet he's still the best leader we currently have that is 100% for black people. Did you forget about Louis Farrakhan? You forget about Farrakhan? Farrakhan still speaks. He still does interviews here and there. He had given us so much during, I'm not even Muslim, but when you listen to his messaging, he has given so much game over, well over 2 decades on YouTube until the folks finally came for him and canceled him. To which I believe that a lot of us should have been writing to YouTube expressing our discontent for what you did to Mr. Farrakhan. And it's all because he talked about the Jade community. I think that's where they started to come at him for real. But anybody else can get up here on these YouTube streets and talk their shit, and nobody bothers them. Unless you say something, unless you say the N-word. That's pretty much it. Now, Let's look at some of the replies on this. And again, if you're watching, I even posted this on TikTok for the people that commented. They're more than welcome to come up here. The link is right there. If you want to debate me on this, you want to talk to me about this, you want to give me your piece on it, or even just give praise, or whether you want to agree, the link is right there. All you got to do is hit the link. Hit the link. I put you in the green room, ask you a couple questions, then I'll throw you up here and we can talk about it. Now, My Reality Intimidates You, also known as Adam Knows and Kangs the Conqueror. He has several TikToks. This brother is a multi-millionaire. Makes several $1 million a month. He showed us his back office. He showed us so many things he's done with the money he's gained off of both YouTube, TikTok, and so forth, as well as his businesses. He showed us all that. If you go to his catalog of videos, you can see all of that. This brother stands on business. And he quite perfectly put this. Leaders don't steal from people. And that's the absolute fact. What good is leadership if all they're going to do is steal from you? Yet people still have some pushback. No, he's a highly intelligent brother, but has shown no leadership or integrity. Called him the best speaker, and I'd agree. And I have no issue with that. He is quite the speaker. But when it comes to his actions, he never puts his money where his mouth is. And then we have the ever so famous, if you follow my YouTube channel, you got this individual that said, volunteer some work from the school. Okay. Let me do this. You go volunteer some work. And I've said this before. Nobody out here is doing work for free. Even people who work for nonprofit organizations get paid for their work. This man wanted us to donate time and materials for this farce of a school. He was hoping that somebody would come in there and save the school. One of the permits on this school had an inspection to it. Well, one of the inspections that was paid for. He had an inspection. Not him, but the previous owners had an inspection. The foundation failed. The inspector estimated that the cost to fix this place would be $1 million. Now, any smart person, if you have $2 million in the bank and it costs you $1 million to fix a property, and at the time the place was valued at between 1.9 and $2 million, would you take it? Now you're staring down the barrel of half of the cost of you to acquire these buildings being gone and just repairs. Just gone. And yet they didn't fix it because they acquired it for like $2 million. It was going to cost them half of what they paid for it to fix it. They didn't fix it. So that place stood and was empty. It was empty. It just sat there. It was empty. It was on a vacant properties list. And it just sat there. Basically, just sucking up tax dollars. Even with the inspections, it was still valued over, damn near $2 million. So you got an entity paying the taxes on this place that they can't do anything with because the foundation failed. So what's the next best thing? Donate it. Do the transfer paperwork. Just transfer it to this person. Write it off as a donation. That way they can get some of their tax dollars back on their other properties. See what I'm saying here? That's what happened with this place. I believe they donated to the FDMG Academy. I believe he knew about the repairs that need to be done. I also believe, allegedly, that he allegedly knew about this stuff and used it to further his scheme. But let's look at this video that I clicked on right here, and we're going to listen to the same thing that I said before.
Today, January 6, 2024, marks the 14-year anniversary of Umar Johnson's 2010 Facebook post where he wrote, "Promises in 2010 to begin laying the groundwork for the Frederick Douglass and Marcus Garvey Pan-African School for Black Boys, specializing in learning disabilities and disruptive behavior disorders. This will be a private school, and yes, you will pay in order for your son to attend. Grand opening, September 11th, 2013. This is chess, not checkers." 14 years later, and there is still no school. 14 years later, and not one boy has been educated. 14 years later, and Umar Johnson continues to collect money for a school that does not exist.
Now, that is a video I pulled from Lennon Honor. You can see his name on the screen. Feel free to stop by, fair use, and show this brother some love. I posted it on TikTok because it was a very short video. So, hey, this would be great to post on the channel. And let's look at some of these comments
Today,
here.
January 6th.
Didn't mean to do that. All right. Dude said I made a whole hater post, to which I said, "This, sir, is what we call a receipt." And that's exactly what it is. This is a receipt. Now, Lennon, what he has done, he has cataloged everything that Umar has done. Because in the beginning, if I'm not mistaken, he was behind the school. He believed in what he was doing. He understood the need for it. And I also believe that he donated. There are several other content creators who are on this app who also donated to this place, as well as myself, who are upset that damn near 2 decades later, we still get nothing. We still get nothing. Now, for a lot of the folks, they say, well, you donated money years ago. You're making way more money now. It doesn't matter. I donated $200 back in 2010. The money back then took a lot more to get than it does now 13 years later. So for somebody like myself to give their hard-earned dollars, I was in a war zone. I was deployed, still watching his videos, and donated the money that I was earning while on the freaking combat zone to this cause because I understood the need for it. But for him to take advantage and play on everybody's emotions, it's bullshit. So miss me with the bullshit. If you don't like what I got to say about Umar, oh, you're just talking shit about our heroes. You're self-hating. No, I don't want to hear all that. It's not self-hatred when you stand up for yourself and others against a damn bully, because that's exactly what he talks like when he talks to black folks, like a damn bully, talking shit to people because they don't donate. They don't have to, making folks, take whatever they have, their the dollars that they work so hard for, and throw them in his pocket so he can go flip his ass overseas, so he can go hang out in Mexico, the DR, and everywhere else. I showed y'all those videos. This man is in the club with your money, but I'm the asshole. I'm wrong for pointing it out. I'm wrong for putting on the world stage. This man is over here grandstanding and over here twerking off with your money. That's bullshit. And to which a lot of people agree that was a childish response. That man had little to no support. That's false. There are plenty of brothers that put out videos of the meetings, the conferences. Hell, you can see it on his own Instagram. Everybody that asked him about where the money was going, who had donated, he blocked them so they couldn't make any more responses to his live videos. You couldn't come on there and throw a super chat. And that's part of the reason why he don't do live streams on YouTube like that. He just posts a video here and there, which is another stream of income for him. He has like 200-something thousand followers on it. I can show you the breakdown of what's estimated that he makes off his videos, but I can probably save that for another time. But you got an all-around crook. He's covering all his bases and stuff like that. but eventually the crook always gets caught. But one way to keep the questions out of the media, out of social media, is by blocking anybody that challenges anything he says. I'm pretty sure that my YouTube channel is blocked from seeing his YouTube channel, but I have more than one YouTube channel. I have several. I have a couple where I show my face that have nothing to do with this type of content. I have a few that where I'm not showing my face and I'm talking about other issues. And I have this channel dealing with just black men specifically, teaching them what I know. That's the purpose of this channel. But again, then you got these fools, right? Like this individual right here. There's a school that he shows it on YouTube. Okay, and you ever heard of smoke and mirrors? You ever heard of sleight of hand? Have you heard of the shell game? There was a brother I met that I got to go back and look through my history, but he called the school a shell game. That is almost the perfect analogy for where we're at with this school and 14 years of bullshit. He shows up, he's switching all the damn shells around. Then he got a few people to cape for him. He even had his father on one of those videos talking about how great this school is going to be. He had other people showing how great this school is going to be. He did a bunch of festivals and stuff like that. Throw a little bit of paint on the walls. And here's what y'all don't know about construction is that sometimes we call that eyewash. If a project's taking longer than usual, you throw some paint up, you throw a few fixtures up, you bring the owner in, like, hey, this is how far we've made it. Even though you may have not, quote unquote, made it that far just yet, you may have ran into some problems, and you're trying to fix everything so you don't piss the owners off, because the owner is the customer. The customer's always right. You always want to keep the customer happy, right? So when it comes to construction, you want to keep the customer happy. You told him it'll take 9 months to finish. You're at 6 months. He wants to see the progress. You throw some fixtures up, clean a few things up, clean up the area, make it look like you're on track to get there. Now, we always get there. We don't always meet our deadlines, but we always finish the project. And that's the issue that's what Umar is trying to do. Except he will never finish, but he will show you enough progress to get you off his back. And that's all he's done. Smoke and mirrors, dog and pony, shell game, whatever you want to call it. That's what he's doing with this school. And then you have a few smart comments right here, which is actually pretty genius. If the school fund is synonymous with the church building fund, the Wall of Mexico is paying for, okay, which is a great comment. And I appreciate this brother right here. We bull rich. Awesome comment. Because this almost looks like the bus fund for church. Now, I've been accused of not going at the church the same way I go at Umar, to which I don't give the church money. I won't step foot in a church who operates like that. And yes, I have called out people like that in the past on Facebook. It's just that I've toned down what I've said on Facebook in the last couple of years because I was using my personal Facebook. I need to create a new one for this channel so that I can make the comments I want to make and the videos I want to make. And if they cancel it, then I don't have to worry about losing personal connections. Okay. So that's why I kind of toned it down. And then the very last comment, Umar scammer, nothing new. Okay. It's nothing new to that gentleman. But as far as being new, there's always a fresh crop of folks that Umar can dig into. The reason why he's overseas a lot is because he's trying to expand his audience. Like, you know, the folks overseas, they can't just swing by and drive up to the school like these other content creators I know about. So there's a few that's on YouTube who've gone to the school, shown the mold, the conditions of the outside of the building. You can't see into it because he wasn't there. And even if you were there, he probably wouldn't invite you on the inside. So for the folks in the international community, if they donate to him, he posts a few videos on Instagram showing the progress of everything. All you're going to do is get pissed off. There's probably not a lot of recourse that you can take in those foreign countries against the person in the United States. But here in this country, we got him by the balls. He's going to slip up. We got him by the balls. In this country, you got to adhere to certain rules. You know, one thing is that the money is drying up, but he's trying to push hard to gain as much as he can. So in the event that shit goes sour, he's going to jump ship. He's going to be over the fence. He'll probably be over in Africa doing God knows what. He's probably already made those connections. And a lot of those countries in Africa don't extradite from Africa to the United States. So eventually he's going to run off with the bag. All right.
2024. Mark.
All right, so we already saw that one. And we're going to go back. We're going to go back. And we're going to look at another video.
My. So every time somebody has criticisms of black folks, you're trying to bring them down. I find that interesting. And that if that's the case, then no black person can ever do any wrong. You can't criticize them, you can't critique what they're doing, you can't talk about them, you can't say shit. You can't say nothing. See how dumb that sounds? You can't talk about a dude who's obviously scamming people out of their money. Hard-earned money. You go to work every day. You may brave the elements. You may sit in your office. You may have bills to pay, but you took your hard-earned money and you gave it to that man. And every year, his followers get younger and younger. There's a new crop of followers that pops up after people figure it out. And he gets to walk away scot-free with black dollars while criticizing you for getting your dollars from white institutions. Make it make sense. Most of the money in this country comes from some white institution somewhere. So it's all hypocrisy. It's all hypocrisy at the end of the day. My.
All right. So there's another one. Now, this guy, if I'm not mistaken, this person right here is the same person who was on Instagram pandering to black women, telling them everything they want to hear. He don't care about their mental health. He don't care about telling folks the truth. He just does what we call feel-good content. And to me, that is the worst type of content, because that's the same thing that Derek Jackson did. He would tell you everything that was wrong with men, which is what this individual does, and then you go blow your relationship up over being lied to. And a lot of people go blow their relationships up on a lie. So next thing you know, you're 30, 40 years old, and the person who was you were supposed to be meant to be with, you blew that relationship up, and now you have nothing. We've seen countless examples of that on Kevin Samuels' channel, where he would bring them folks up there, and he told quite a few of them that you already met your husband. Because you couldn't accept the small amount of flaws he had, you let him go. And now he's off with somebody else who can appreciate what he's doing and how he does it, and now you're alone. But that was supposed to be your husband. That's what this individual does. This individual called me an agent. Now, granted, you had agents who infiltrated the civil rights movement, but we're nowhere near what, civil rights level of anything right now. But you called me an agent. In one of the subsequent comments that this individual made, as well as a couple other people, they asked me, was I part of the CIA or FBI? Like, why? That was the silliest shit I've ever heard in my life. Nobody ever addresses the argument. Nobody can dispute the facts. I have videos upon videos showing the public record of what Umar is doing with the school. It's funny y'all got smoke with me about Umar, but nobody has smoke with me about what I'm telling you about the job situation. I couldn't tell you how many black folks I see in service jobs, regular service jobs, complaining where you're not making the money that you should be making at a certain age. Now, black men are doing great across the board, but there are still some of us who could be doing a lot more, and they've been led to believe that they don't deserve it. There's a video on Kevin Samuels' channel called You Belong Here. It's never too late to get your stuff in gear and get yourself out here being productive. Now, that's just for the non-productive brothers. If you're happy where you're at, fine. If you're unhappy where you're at, follow my channel. I got a lot of information to give. I got a lot of things that you can do. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I'm going to give you the information so you can make your own assumptions about what's going on. But back to this comment. I'm sick of you Judas ass ninjas. Okay, that's fine. See, Judas betrayed Jesus, okay? Umar is nobody's Jesus. This man got 2 babies by 2 different women. You never see any videos about it. You never hear anybody talk about him. This man dealt with a controversial figure in the past known as the Conscious Stripper. I don't even know if she's around anymore on YouTube. Pretty sure she's gone by now. Conscious Stripper. Doesn't make any sense, but it made waves back then, but nowadays ain't nobody going for it. So you've dealt with some questionable people in the past. Jesus dealt with one or 2. Actually, it's more than that. I don't feel like going through the Bible. But that man actually gave his all to the people. Umar ain't giving you a clue into what he's doing with your money. But I'm Judas. I'm Sambo. I'm a coon. You know, part of getting healthy, right? If you're a cancer patient, getting healthy means that you get rid of the cancer. You want to thrive, you have to get rid of the cancer. Very few people live a long, full life with cancer. And if you extrapolate that out to the people, you have to get rid of the cancers of the community in order to thrive. Umar is a cancer. All he does is take from the community and those who are foolish enough to believe his message, and he gives them nothing in return except lip service. But somehow I'm the Judas? Brother, you are seriously lost. I don't have to curse you out. I don't have to throw ad hominems, but hey, I gotta call it what it is. You're lost if you believe that I'm Judas versus what this man is doing. Let's look at some of these comments on this particular TikTok.
So every time somebody has criticism,
pause the audio, because as you can see, I was taking my ass on. I was on my way to work, a place that, to my I hadn't seen Umar in damn near 20 years. That man is always flying everywhere and doing speaking engagements and so forth. But I'm on my way to work. At least you can see what I'm doing. Anyway, dude said, you're saying a whole lot of nothing. Tell me what you have said, what he said that was wrong, and what your proof that he's taking money is, right? All right, so here's the thing. When you, what the hell does it say? Hang on one second. I got a comment here. Let me see. What does it say? Yep, they're lost, blind, and deaf. You're right. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Let me see if I can highlight that real quick. Why is my... Let me refresh this page. But yeah, you're absolutely right. And I don't think people understand that it's very easy to follow the wrong people, because you've been down bad for so long that you're looking for a savior for anything, for just the glimmer of hope that you can make it out of it. But he hasn't told you not one thing to help you get out of it. The only thing he's promoted is hatred for white people, which hatred helps nobody, and that damn school. If the school would save the next generation, I can understand you believing in it, because I believed in it at one point, because I was thinking about the next generation. But to get taken for a fool behind, you know, your money and his antics afterwards, that's where I draw the line. But back to this comment right here. I appreciate the comments. Thank you for stopping by. So let's look at this video response that I did for this shit right here.
Judging from your response, I can tell you don't listen very well. You don't. Also, I wasn't talking exactly or directly to you. I was speaking through you to reach other people, and I used your comment, because I see it so much, to address a lot of what Umar has said. Now, I do have a YouTube channel. I made about 3 videos over the past year highlighting some of the things that are going on with that school, where I went through the permit paperwork, where I went through his Instagram, YouTube channel. I even showed his Twitter, where he's showing all the dates and places he's going and flying all over the place. If you pay attention to his YouTube channel, you know he has, 300,000 followers. If he strictly made content on YouTube, he would have had the money.
Hang on, it kind of froze up a bit. But I am going to pause it right there. Now, this is the same dude that's begging on YouTube. Not YouTube, but on TikTok. This man was about to get put out of his place. He was living on this woman's couch and so forth. But yet, he has the nerve to come over here and talk shit to me. A man who's worked since the age of 14. 14. I served 22 years in the military. I'm 41 now. I've done nothing but be productive in every capacity that you can name. But yet he's known people like me. I must be a white man. And then, you know, I gotta talk about my man right here, OMG. He's been on TikTok for a while, going at some of these people and the narratives and trying to change the mindset of black folks. I've known a few broke dudes like you my whole life, but one thing they didn't do was beg on the internet. The same guy, he has multiple accounts on TikTok, and yet he comes in here trying to prove his points by downing black men who are doing far better than most people with no help at all. I mean, what do you do? Like, my head hurts with some of these people. Say, yeah, yes, I am broke. Can I borrow $1 to help a brother out? Trying to be facetious. To which, in case you didn't think I was black,
Brother, I
go.
just caught this comment. You said you might be a white man. Let's see here. Might be a white man. I don't know, man. Look pretty black to me.
Now, granted, you got to excuse my ashy ass hands and how beat up my hands are. I mean, like I said, I've been working with my hands a majority of my adult life, as well as my teenage life. I was a mechanic in high school. I did the trade school thing in high school. That's where I started. Didn't want to do auto mechanics the rest of my life, so I jumped into the building trades. Shit always got to get built. You always need an electrician and so forth. And you know, that's a little bit about myself. And then you got Kings the Conqueror, you know, also known as Adam. Clearly doesn't listen. Now, I'm gonna jump onto a quick caveat real quick, right? Quick caveat. If you listen to Kevin Samuels, right? Now, granted, yeah, of course, I'm a fan. I'm not afraid to admit that. I also like Minister Jab. David Carroll, I like a little bit of what O'Shea says, and I hate to say Obsidian, but because he kind of pisses me off at times. And there's a few other names that escape me. A lot of these guys are a little bit older than I am. And one thing I learned is that the older guys have a lot to say. You could take their wisdom with a grain of salt, pick and choose what works for you, and develop your own theories on how you proceed to move. And that's fine. But above all else, you did listen to your elders, and I believed in that. Even when I was in the Army, I had older guys from the Desert Storm area who taught me. They taught me the game. They taught me a lot about life, how men should be. And I held on to those lessons. I didn't push back. But what we're getting nowadays, we're getting a lot of pushback, especially from guys like this. I'm pretty sure that he is about the same age as I am, but for some reason, he's chasing a bag. And he doesn't care how he has to do it. He'll toss his integrity out the window just to get a bag, which is wrong. That's how you got so many effed up people in the world. You got people who will toss their integrity out the window. Like, I don't care about right and wrong. I'm going to sell these drugs. And then when they end up with shit on their record and can't get a job, when they decide to change their ways, they'll blame everybody but themselves. And we don't think that's a problem? All right, cool. Continuing on. I need to clean my iPad because for some reason it's not responding like it should.
Judging from your response, all right, I'm on my lunch break, so I got some time.
All right, so before I continue on with this one, you see the caption on the screen, right? This was another response. I also posted this on YouTube too, if you want to go through my videos and look at those and, you know, make your own assumption. But this was I think this was a 9-minute video. So this caption says, there is no way. It's crazy. Inspections are done to allow the owner to fix the issues according to the code. People say anything on the internet. Okay. All right. So me, construction professional, electrician by trade, says that there is no way. You have to think about this for a second. If you're going to go buy a property or purchase a property and it costs you damn near as much to fix it as it does to buy it, would you continue to buy that property? I'll give you a lesser example. If you go to buy a car, the car is in great shape. The owner is selling you the car for $3,000. And oh, by the way, the transmission is out. The average transmission costs between $1,500 and a few more $1,000s to fix, which could be more or a little bit less than it costs you to acquire the car. Would you buy that car? And oh, by the way, the mileage in that car is over $100,000. It's simple math. It's a simple cost versus benefit calculation. And that's what we're dealing with right now. And that's what Umar is not telling you. He says he paid $400,000 for that property, or $700,000. I've seen 2 different videos that said the same thing. So if it cost him $400,000 or $700,000, but the building foundation costs $1 million to fix, doesn't that put him upside down on that particular building? It would cost him more to fix it than what he acquired it for. That's not smart business. You're supposed to gain a profit or gain a benefit from anything you purchase or buy. But we'll listen to my explanation in this particular TikTok.
Assume you haven't been following my page, right? So
I also want to say, if I'm heavy breathing, it's because it's cold outside. It's wintertime. Construction in the wintertime is trash. I ain't gonna lie to you.
I have a YouTube channel where I went through the paperwork. I looked at the inspections, and I looked at the record to where both buildings damn near failed foundation inspection. The estimate was around, I want to say 1.5, if I remember correctly. 1.5 million, that is, to fix it. And as you go through the permitting on that place, there's no record of it ever being fixed. So when I say there's no way he'll ever open that school, I mean there is no way. If you look at his Instagram, he walks through the school. Ceiling tiles are missing. There's leaks. There's probably mold. The HVAC has not been fixed, which HVAC is a big deal. You have people.
On another note, I just thought about this. I did a school walkthrough review when he posted on Instagram. If you go back to that video where he's walking through the school, you'll notice that he's walking back and forth through a certain section of that school. That school property is pretty big. It's a few thousand square feet, but somehow he walks from one end to the other using a few camera parlor tricks to make you seem like he walked through the entire school. No, he stayed in the same hallway. Study the background and some of the markings on the wall, and you will see that he's only walking through a certain section at school. Why is that? It's the question you should be asking yourself.
Getting sick in there if it's not properly cleaned or maintained. It takes a lot to run a building, especially with the maintenance staff. So, I know what I'm talking about. That building should be condemned and torn down, or it's going to become an eyesore or full of vagrants. Umar has been peddling this crap in front of people. It's nothing to throw a little bit of paint on the walls, throw a few light fixtures in there, have a little bit of work done to make it appear that he's making progress. Because that's the part of the construction a lot of people don't see. Sometimes we do things for owners to show them that we're making progress. Even if the task that we're currently doing is taking a little longer than expected, you would throw up some light fixtures, some ceiling tiles. Same thing I just described. Or you would go into the scheduling and look at it like, look, we're supposed to be at this point. Let's see what we can do to get these pipes in, or this wire pulled, or whatever. There's a bunch of stuff you can do. That man has no clue. There's no general contractor listed, which is how you go about doing renovations. You get a general contractor, and then they hire subs to come in and do the required work, but they can't handle it. He's done none of that. All he's done is walk around with his phones, yelling at people and making BS videos. That's it. Insulting people because they're not giving enough. The narcissism is through the roof with this man. All right, I'm on my lunch break, so I got...
All right, so going from there, it just shows you how disconnected we are from how property works, how acquiring places, how to build and stuff like that. We are out of our depth. We really are. There was a time where black folks were experts in construction. We built this country, for God's sakes. We were everywhere. Our hands were on all the national monuments, homes all over the place. Hell, we even built our own communities before they got burned down multiple times by the white folks of the time. I'm not saying, no offense to the white folks that live today, but the folks of the time, back when those communities got burnt down, were filled with hatred and vitriol for black people. So, I'm not blaming anybody who lives nowadays. But I will say that we've come a long way. And along the way, we've forgotten that it was our ancestors who built this place. We have a lot of those skills ingrained in us, and there's a lot of money to be made doing such things. So when I give my expert opinion on things, because there's quite a few out there, I think I'm one of the only construction professionals up here on YouTube who is black speaking on social issues involving us. I think I'm one of the only ones. And the funny thing about Umar and his school is that he's playing on everybody's emotions and the fact that nobody knows anything, or he assumed that nobody knew anything and would not speak out against them. If you go to my comment section on some of my YouTube vids, I got to find out specifically which video it was. There's a brother from the UK. There's a brother from Australia who also works in construction and have confirmed everything that I'm saying, which is an indictment on what I'm talking about. We already realized that we don't have enough lawyers. Well, we have enough lawyers. We don't have enough engineers. We don't have enough scientists. We don't have enough black men in the trades. Because if there was enough black men in the trades, a majority of black men in the trades, they would have been called this out. I'm probably like 1% of any job site that I've been on. The most black people I've seen on any job site, 5. And there'd be hundreds of guys on these sites. And it's crazy to me when I try to talk to brothers about these fields where, you know what I'm saying, my white friends come from long lines of electricians. You got guys, listen, I got to say this, and it might piss a lot of people off because it kind of pissed me off. Because when you talk with some of your coworkers about, you know, their family life, you're having casual conversation, just, you know, trying to figure things out. Because I want to learn from everybody that I come in contact with, you know, if you're from a different race or whatnot. I work with people from all different races. But when you talk with the white guys in construction, they'll let you know, I come from a long line of this, that, and the third. And the one thing that I noticed that a lot of them have in common, and it's not anecdotal, this is not limited to my experience, because the construction community is still small compared to the rest of the workforce in America. But what you notice is that those guys come out from a long line of folks that have worked in the field. They have a lot more than people I know. There's one family I will cite in particular. They come from at least 4 generations of electricians. All of them have houses paid for by the time they were 30. You know why? Because the trades offer a lot of money. And because they have family in the trades, they come through and they have a lot of connections with folks in the trades, and they continue to work. When you're making more than double that of the regular population, shit happens. Let's see what we got here. We got, oh, he retracted the message. All right, cool. But Ari, you know, I appreciate you for rocking with me and sticking here for so long. But what I notice about the guys who come from long lines of certain fields in the construction world, whether, you know, and we're not just talking about just construction, the trades are all over the place, because you need electricians to do renovations, demos, and stuff like that. But what I've noticed is that those guys, they have, the way they build their generational wealth is through the first person who came through the trades. The trades affords you the opportunity to have a good life, to have benefits, to take care of your children, and then they pass on that information and what they were able to do. And of course, by the time your son comes along, the wages are higher. So all it does is snowball and continue, and you have a bunch of folks that are working along the same lines who are just continuously building wealth. I've met so many 20 to 26-year-olds who are way younger than me, because I'm 41, who have houses paid for. And the only way they can do it is because they work on a salary. And here's the kicker. A lot of them live with their parents. They become journeyman electricians, laborers, plumbers, HVAC guys, and so forth. And those guys command a salary of at least $100,000. Now imagine if your parents let you go off to work, you kick them out some money for bills and stuff like that, but you're able to save up a bunch of money to go buy your first house, cash. I know at least 5 guys who are on the same program. So when we have families full of professionals who have their professional licenses and all their certifications, commanding these huge salaries and work whenever, above average pay, you can do a lot with your community. And that's where we're lacking. You're not getting that kind of money working at a gas station, McDonald's, Taco Bell, retail store, Walmart, which is where a lot of black folks work, or even for the federal government, because you're still capped even in the federal government. You can't go higher than what, GS-15 or some shit like that? I mean, seriously. But anyway, let's take a look at this next one.
Brother, I just caught this comment. You said you might be a white man. Let's see.
Continue on.
All right, so here we go.
Now, I am a huge fan of The Wire because I lived on a lot of those streets where they shot it. Hell, I didn't even know they were shooting this shit when I lived there. But let's read this caption right here. This dude, he didn't call me a coon outright, but we know what that symbol means. Come on now. And so to which I responded with this video. How come they don't fly away? And that went over a lot of people's heads. See, notice there's no comment there. There's not a single comment. You got 1 like, no comments. And I think that's the like that I put on it, because I don't think anybody understood the reference. It's like if you ever seen farm animals, they get so used to the electric fence that you can tear down the electric fence and they will never run away. And I think that's the way black folks have been conditioned. I really do. It's like if you've been told you ain't shit all your life, you'll never amount to anything because of X, Y, Z, white people and so forth, you will never go forward. You will never achieve anything. You are psychologically conditioned just to take the abuse. And here's a revelation about Dr. Umar. He understands that. So on one hand, he'll preach to you that white people are the reason why you're in the conditions you're in now. It's not white people of today. It was those folks from back then. And I think we need to make the distinction, because most white folks today don't want to be called racist, and they don't want to participate in racism or be considered racist. So a lot of times they'll side with you. And let's be honest, a lot of us grew up in mixed neighborhoods. I can't tell you that I went to school with a bunch of black people, because I didn't. I lived in Baltimore City. Not all the students that went to the schools we went to were all black. You had some Indian folks, you had Puerto Rican folks, you had white people, you had a mixture of everybody. It wasn't until we became adults where everybody kind of segregated themselves into different clans and started talking trash about one another. And that's the truth. I don't even know how we got here. It's like all of a sudden you forgot that you used to hang out with the Asian dude that lived next door in the same apartment building. Hell, my brother's guilty of that. And I had to remind him of that. Like, you talk all this trash about everybody else, but guess what? One of your best friends we used to hoop with was an Asian dude. One of my best friends was a Puerto Rican dude. See, only us live by these constraints. That you would call me anything but a son of God because I'm trying to educate you and point you in a different direction. That's all I want to do with this channel, is point you in a different direction. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but if I tell you that, hey, you might want to consider plumbing because plumbers are at $65 an hour in almost across the country. because you can't be considered a civilization if you don't have indoor plumbing. I didn't make this up, not my rules, but what I've noticed from reading throughout history, what separated a lot of these societies is whether or not they had indoor plumbing. So some of the basis, some of the essential workers, as they've been deemed during the pandemic, are blue collar folks that keep the world going. Imagine not having plumbing. If you've never had to go outside and shit in a hole in the ground, thank your plumber. If you can walk into your house at night without turning on a candle, which could possibly burn your house down while you're sleeping and delete everybody in there, thank an electrician. If you never had to wake up in night sweats, not because you forgot to turn the AC on at night, not because it's too cold in the wintertime and you had to throw on like 50 blankets, thank your HVAC guys. Thank your trucker for bringing the food to the grocery store that you shop at. Thank the nurses, doctors for keeping your folks alive. These are the things that I want more black folks to get into, not just the medical field, because that's easy. They'll let you go to a bunch of debt to get that education. But imagine not taking on any debt and doing something important. It may not be glamorous, but they're important jobs and they pay you a lot of money. But a lot of folks don't want to hear it. But I get called a coon because you want to stay behind the electric fence that's not there anymore. White supremacy was the electric fence at one point. It still exists, not as powerful as it once was, because the world has passed them by. But the fence has been removed, and yet some of y'all still hang out behind the fence. And then you want to shame the brothers who hop over the fence, whether it's in dating and relationships or doing professions that are outside the norm at what's considered the norm for black people. Earlier in the stream, I talked about service jobs, and I see a lot of black folks in service jobs. You see a lot of black women in corporate America. A lot of men are leaving corporate America because, you know, the current state of Me Too, but that's another story. But the other jobs that make just as much money, if not more, because I do know some folks that work in corporate America and they are sick to their stomach that they saddled, you know, they're saddled with a bunch of debt, and I'm not, and I make more than they do. And even with all the education they got, who's smarter? I mean, I have a degree, but who's smarter? I mean, it's funny to me, but who's smarter? And I'll give you another example to kind of put the icing on the cake on this one. I personally know a guy who was a therapist. Now, this therapist has a master's degree, worked for a private company, was making $75,000. Got smart with my wife, and then started talking trash about me. To which I replied, I was like, well, how much do you make? I don't even know how we got on the subject. I really don't, because I was kind of half paying attention. I don't have a personal problem with this individual, but my wife also knows this person personally. And then they get into it, and there was an argument that ensued, and somehow earnings came up. And somehow he tried to talk shit to her. Well, your husband is doing this, that, and the third. Talking about me. And then she defended herself by saying, well, my husband makes more than you. And he didn't believe it. Bullshit. And started saying a bunch of other stuff. And then let him know. I make over $60 an hour as an electrician in the industrial space. If you multiply that by 2,500 hours a year, you're going to get over 100 grand. So 65 times 2,500 is 162,500. This man makes 75. After that, we didn't have no issues because the dude was pissed off and never said anything since. Even though I told him that he gonna have to come see me with these hands. Hadn't reached out, said anything, or apologized since. Now, I'm not saying this to brag or boast or anything like that, but you can't make the assumption or look down upon people. I don't look down upon people who work in the office until you start talking trash. Now I have no respect for you, because we all make the world go round at certain junctures, right? But never count out the blue collar workers in the field, because some of us might surprise you. Now, let's go through some more.
Returns to the cave to share his discovery.
So I tried to explain this
no longer used
concept
to the
to this
darkness.
individual. This is the concept of Plato's cave. Now we're going to listen to this. Fair use, fair use. We're going to listen to this for a second, and then we're going to go back into some more of the videos and some of the smoke and whatnot. I still haven't seen anybody pop up in my back room, so I guess they don't want to
And has
get
a
beat
hard
down
time
today.
seeing the shadows on the wall. The other prisoners think the journey has made him stupid and blind, and violently resist any attempts to free them. Plato introduces this passage as an analogy of what it's like to be a philosopher.
Hang on, let me run that back.
Prisoner returns to the cave to share his discovery, but
So let me fill in some points for you. So in the allegory of Plato's cave, these prisoners were in the cave, and you can look this up on YouTube. One gets freed, learns a bunch of stuff, he comes back to the cave. This is where we are now.
he is no longer used to the darkness and has a hard time seeing the shadows on the wall. The other prisoners think the journey has made him stupid and blind, and
Now, before he got freed and exited out of the cave, they were facing a wall, and there was a light behind them. They had to pretend and look at all the shapes on the walls and try to discern what those shapes are, who was there, who passed by, and so forth. So they were in complete darkness. They only knew one thing for all of their lives. Now, let me remove my fair use banner so you can read the captions on this. Now, let's continue.
violently resist any attempts to free them. Plato introduces this passage as an analogy of what it's like to be a philosopher trying to educate the public. Most people are not just comfortable in their ignorance, but hostile to anyone who points it out. In fact, the real-life Socrates was sentenced to death by the Athenian government for disrupting the social order, and his student Plato spends much of the Republic disparaging Athenian democracy, while promoting rule by philosopher kings. With the cave parable, Plato may be arguing that the masses are too stubborn and ignorant to govern themselves. But the allegory has captured imagination. Prisoner returns to the cave to share his...
Now, that short video or piece that I pulled says a lot about the black community. It says a lot. It's just like that video, was it Aaron Earn, whatever that video was. Same thing. When them folks got, when the guys got corrected, they were upset because it made them look stupid. They were ready to fight this man for pronouncing words, simple words, correctly. And that's the same thing that's going on here. It doesn't matter who you are. You can be Dr. Martin Luther King. If you tell folks, if he was resurrected today and said anything about the black community today, they'd want to hang him or shoot him today. His own folks, not just the guy that put a bullet in him, but the folks today would have a problem with him. And it's really sad. It really is. And I don't know where we go from here. How do we fix it? I don't know how you come back from this. So let's go on to another one. Now, this is me holding the camera. I'm on an infrastructure job. I'm going to pause this here. I'm going to pause this here. Now, the wires we're pulling, that was $200,000 worth of wire. We're doing some infrastructure, powering up some lines and stuff like that. But this time we're going underground. This is some of the skill. These are some of the skills that you're going to gain if you became an electrician. Like I said, I'm making over $60 an hour doing this. Yes, you're out in muddy conditions. It's cold. Each one of these spools weighs about 1,200 pounds. I can only lift one end of the spool because this particular one that I stopped on, it fell off, so I had to pick it up myself. With enough leverage and stuff like that, I had to pick it up. Okay. I don't know if you've seen the skinny guys I work with, but yeah, I'm a bigger guy. I do work out. So I have the physical ability to do a lot of it. Just kind of save us some time, but that's neither here nor there. But stuff like this, 6 parallel runs, 3 spools per run, 4 spools per run. We do have machine assist on a lot of these, but when you get to pull the wire off of the reel, once the reel ends, now you got to wrestle with 200 to 300 pounds of wire to get it into its proper place, and then you got to land them, strip them, and stuff like that. So that's a little bit of what I do on a daily basis. Okay. Granted, you have to have a feeder machine for this one, because that shit gets heavy. Because like otherwise, we didn't have the feeder machine. You'll see 2 guys in the middle here holding it while there's a puller on the other end pulling this wire across 400. We're going 400 feet with this one. So imagine dragging something 400 feet that weighs 1,200 pounds. A lot of us would not fare too well.
Bear with me
now,
while I'm
here we go.
cleaning out
Back
my
to the
garage.
volunteer statement.
Volunteer some work on the school. On my YouTube, I have encountered the same comment. I have no interest on doing anything for free. Throughout my lifetime, I volunteered everywhere from soldiers' homes to nursing homes, at schools, and so forth.
Now, I want to give you a quick note on the whole volunteering at the soldiers' homes, right? It wasn't just the soldiers' home, but like we volunteered for programs where you hung out with some of the kids who lost their father during war. And I will say this. I'm not afraid to admit I cried. But the saddest thing I've ever done in life was being a mentor to some of these children who lost their fathers who went off to war. They came up with this program to help some of these gentlemen cope. And you were paired with children who were the same complexion as you, same build, you know what I mean? Same that ethnicity. I was paired with a little boy who was so sad over losing his father. This dude lost all his teeth. He wasn't eating, wasn't doing anything. He still had a lot of his baby teeth, but it was damn near all silver caps. That's right, big cable pull, man. Yeah, that's what's up, man. No college debt. Yeah, that shit was rough. But the young man that I talked to, I had to mentor. He didn't eat much. I talked to his mother. It's like, for damn near a year, it was hard to eat. He had to have feeding tubes and stuff like that. But because his he wasn't eating or taking anything in, his teeth went bad. And that was the saddest thing I had to deal with. I had to give this young man hugs and play with him the same way that his father did. And that was one of the programs we had. We met with all these children who lost their parents during the war, because it wasn't just it was mostly men, but it wasn't just men. And then we went over to the soldiers' home, because there's soldiers' homes all over the country, to where men and women who have been in these conflicts, who don't have family to take care of them, they could go to those homes and live out the last of their days. And we hung out with those guys. We played games with them. We did karaoke. We sung. We danced with them. We visited quite often, because ain't nothing like having companionship on your way out the door. These are some of the things I've done. All right, continuing on.
To help out with various activities. I've done enough of it. I've done more than most people.
And I
have
appreciate
ever
you,
done
all
in
right,
their
for
lifetime.
rocking with me.
There's this thing called a volunteer medal that you can earn as part of your military service. I have that.
Hang on, me. You know what? I'll deal with that later.
So while you ask me to volunteer some work for the school, how would you feel if somebody asked you to put your life on the line for an organization that may never, ever open? Because electrical work is dangerous. I've worked in it a long time. I've had a few scares here and there. But ultimately, you're putting your life on the line. That's why we get paid so much money to do what we do. Because of our expertise, our knowledge, and what we're willing to do to make things happen. So why don't you go put your life on the line for this school? Why don't you go out there and break your back? Because construction is hard work. Why don't you do it? Okay? I'm not going to risk my life, my family, and the obligations that I have to my children for Umar. I'm talking about my family. This man won't sacrifice his time to be a father and even show us videos of him being a father to the 2 children that he has, allegedly. Ask him that. At least I'm active in that respect. Volunteer some work for the school. Some of y'all kill me with this crap. This dude is a bona fide black savior of some kind. To some of y'all. Not all, but to some of y'all. He's done nothing but acquire things to keep his scam going. But here you are with this damn question. After I spent 5 years in school to learn the craft, now you want me to do work for free? Get the fuck out of here.
All right, now I'm gonna jump into this video right here. The comments on this video. Then plus Dr. Umar hasn't asked for any volunteers. I don't know how. Hey man, hey, be safe out there. You know, I see you. Gotta hit the road, man. Thank you for stopping by, man. I really do appreciate you stopping by and watching. Like, most people come by after the stream and make comments, but I appreciate you coming through while we are alive. Thank you so much. Be safe on the road. Be careful, because the weather here is bad. I'm up here, Seattle, Washington, and whatnot, so I know the weather is bad up there in Canada, because that air is coming down quite fierce right now. But speaking of this individual right here, his name is what the fuck did it say? Andy, right? He claims that Dr. Umar never asked anybody for volunteers, which is false, because when he first started, he asked about volunteers, and over the years he would sprinkle in volunteers here and there. He would not hesitate to take any free work. However, the folks that offered to come in and do things, he denied them. You had a bunch of people who were invested in coming through to help do work on school, and he said, nah, I'll do it myself. This is not a one-man job. This is not a one-man job. My man Adam pointed this out several times in that video that I showed. I got a video on TikTok as well where I reposted. Well, actually, it's not my video, it's Adam's video. I reposted his history with him because there was a group of individuals when Umar came up with it. And then these are $1 million dudes, and nothing makes them happy than to help other people out. I mean, it also serves several purposes: tax write-offs, charity work, stuff, whatever. Because to them, the money goes a long way when they donate it or donate their time to these causes. So for Umar to say, no, I got it, I'll take care of it, because when you accept help, outside help, and people invest in your program, they get a say-so in what you do. Nobody has a say-so in what anything that Umar does. Case in point, whenever you ask him about anything he's doing with his school, notice I said his school, he blocks you, or he deflects, or he says something out of the way, or he insults you. He turns his supporters on you so that they attack you as well. It's not just him coming at you. You got his supporters coming at you. Everybody here who has said anything to me on TikTok, on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, has been one of Umar's supporters. Somehow he has this huge fan club, even though he's done nothing for 20 years for anybody but himself. Did y'all know that some of the money that he got for this school, he used to buy some of his folks a house? I believe this man is allegedly living out of that school that he got for $10. Those 2 buildings he got, he paid $20 in total. That's a transfer fee. If it's charity work, and you could look at the tax section of the paperwork in Wilmington's tax office, you can look at their paperwork online. It shows that he got each one of those properties for $20. The taxes say negative $1.8 million, which means it was a tax write-off for the previous company who owned those properties. They were able to get their money back as a write-off for those properties. That's why they gave them away. They knew those properties were condemned. They knew they didn't have a chance to do anything with those properties. So the best thing they can do, this damn sucker came along, we're going to offload them to him. Now they're his problem. And that he's using those same problems that he got to beat us all over the head with. And I ain't going. You can blame black men, productive black men, for everything wrong in the community if you want to, but the truth will come out, and the truth will undo everything that he's doing. Before long, you won't know who Umar is if he doesn't go to prison first. All right? Now that we got that out of the way, because I ain't volunteering shit.
This is how some of y'all look caping for Umar. You said, why don't you direct that energy at white people? Why? You have access to the internet. You have TikTok. You got YouTube. Why don't you start your own channels if you want to direct your energy that way? Me, I'm trying to fix some of the mindsets of some of y'all, and that you can achieve different things. All this hatred has done nothing for you, nor will it ever. It takes so much energy to hate folks rather than change your own circumstances. This is why a lot of black folks can't get ahead. You want to hang on to the hatred and stuff of racism. Ain't no white person out here stopping you from getting money, from achieving the things that you want to do. I have never in my life met a single white person who stopped me from doing anything. This is how some of y'all look caping for Umar. You said, why don't you direct that energy at white people? Why? You have access.
Now, that is my official thing for 2024. I do not hate white people. As much as y'all want me to, some of y'all want me to, I do not hate white people. Because I always have to ask myself, why? You cannot punish people for things that happened in the past. Now, you can make it right by compensating people, yes. I believe reparations needs to happen. But when it comes to punishing folks for the failings of their parents and grandparents and great-great-great-grandparents, I don't agree with that at all. I don't. I believe that the U.S. has enough money in reserves that came off the backs of the folks in the past that, yeah, they could pay out reparations. Why don't they? I don't know. I have a great idea on it. Some people are hanging on to old ideals, maybe even a little hatred, right? But hanging on to all this hatred, hating white folk, we're not doing that. Well, it takes so much energy to be angry at people and to hate people. We barely got enough energy to make it through the day to day. We don't have enough money to have the energy to hate people. So what I propose is to not necessarily let it go, is to exercise some resilience. Exercise resilience. Overcome those obstacles that would keep you stuck, that you perceive would keep you stuck. Listening to Umar is a defeatist mindset. If you listen to him enough, he will have you doubting yourself and not even trying because of white people. And that's bullshit. Because not every person you work with is going to be of a certain ethnicity. Okay? So you can hate them all you want. If you only work with a bunch of black people, what is hating white people going to do for you? Absolutely nothing. And it goes back to what I said earlier about the fact that a lot of our neighborhoods in the hood were mixed race, period. A lot of us, we went to school, we had white people in there, we had Hispanic, we had Asian folks, we had a lot of things in these schools. So, somehow white people have an advantage when, hell, some of the guys I grew up with, they're white, they live next door to us in Baltimore. Downtown Baltimore, they live right next door. Do they have white privilege? And they live next door to you? You see how stupid that shit sounds? It doesn't make any sense to me. But you have some folks that want to get, emotionally invested. They make pro-black so sensationalized that the young folks don't know any better. And it takes people that's my age to realize, hey, we all got had by the same people. We're not doing this. I refuse to let another single young black person fall into the trap of Umar, Brother Polite, and people of that ilk. Because my belief is that when you have enough skills, you command enough capital and power, you could transcend racism. Now, granted, racism still does exist at those levels. There are places in the world where if you're not of the dominant culture's nationality, it's very difficult for you to move up. But what does hate do for you? If you're the person on the way up, how is hating the people you're going against work for you? What we do know is that hatred can cloud your judgment. We know that for a fact. You can't even dispute that. Anger clouds your judgment. Being overly emotional clouds your judgment. It can blind you to what you need to do. It could be an obstacle that you impose upon yourself. But anyway, let's move on to the next one.
What code are we talking about?
Now, okay, before I begin to go in on this individual right here, notice nobody showed up for the smoke. Because I'm going to put you on screen. I'm going to put your icon or whatever on screen. Nobody showed up. I've been here for 2 hours. I haven't told a lie yet. Because nobody's called me out on it. I've seen plenty of viewers pop up here in my comment, pop up in the count. Nobody said anything. But it's funny how I can sit here and talk, but somebody like Jason Black could go in on white people the entire stream that he's doing and racism this, racism that, and he'll have 10,000 people watching him. Because some of y'all love the hatred. Some of y'all love to be at odds with other folks. I'm just going to tell it like it is. Because personally, all I really care about is black men and them getting theirs, because we have been the most disadvantaged in this country, even though the backs of our ancestors carried this place. Okay? I'm not saying I'm racist, but I do have more of an app to help young black men than anything, because a lot of us come from broken homes, no fathers, no nothing. So I will try to do my best to fill in where their dad did not. That's the only reason I do what I do. But let's go back into this one. That's how you look not being on code. This is in a whole comment thread. Look up No News Podcast on TikTok. Look at this video right here where I got my foot out. We were working out in the mud. It's been raining quite a bit. We're installing some pipes in the ground, pulling wires and stuff like that. But go back to this video. And look at some of these comments. Matter of fact, you can see some of them pop up as I'm speaking right now, because, like, you know, I like the way TikTok works. Like, it shows some of the latest comments, all the people that like the video and so forth. I got on all my rain gear, had to kneel in the mud and whatnot. I'm getting dirty. I have no problem getting down in the dirt to get this money to improve my family and stuff like that. I don't care. I do what I have to. It's nothing to me.
We talking about the black code that many of us don't even really subscribe to? Are we talking about the same code where you're allowed to scam your own people and not speak out against it? Or are we talking about the same code where y'all don't care enough about each other and y'all want brothers to put their life on the line for randoms? Is that the code we talking about? We talking about the no snitching code that got our communities fucked up? What code are we on? I care about my fellow black people. I care about my brothers. Mostly, I care more about my family than anything else that's going on. So please help me understand what code you talking about staying on. When we tell folks, don't waste all your money outside the hood, save it, go get a job, go get this job, work your way out of the hood. But nah, y'all want to bring folks with money and means back into the hood so folks can take from them. What code? Please explain to me, what is this magical black code that we all supposed to adhere to? I really want to know. Because that bullshit that I subscribed to when I was younger got a lot of folks hurt and in the ground. A lot of people staying on code is in jail. So what fucking code are you talking about? Because the only thing I understand is that the information I spread on my page is to keep you from getting scammed and to keep your hard-earned dollars in your pocket. You're better off investing in yourself than into this fucking dude that's taking all your money and running off with it. Go look at his Twitter. He's in a different city every daggone week, every couple days. He got videos up on his Instagram of him in the club spending your fucking money. Where they do that at? Where can I go lay up on somebody's couch or whatever, take all your money and go party with it? Where? I mean, where are we doing it? I'm at work right now. Something that Umar ain't seen in 15 years. So, excuse me, before you come to my page with the bullshit, figure out what code you talking about. Fucking code. Don't talk bad about black people in public. Or don't talk about your own in public. Nah, fuck that. Black men been talked about for over 50, 60 years. There's books going all the way back to the 60s telling brothers that we are trash. It's more brothers in college than in prison right now. I tell brothers about opportunities that they can take up to improve their station in life. Talking about some code. If we talking about that, then I agree. That this is the code we should be on. Not going out here busting your motherfucking knuckles, giving Umar all your money while he's...
All right, so that was basically the end of that one. So I don't know where to begin on this one, because I hear this from Jason Black, JD Black, Tariq Nasheed, a bunch of other people. Somehow there's supposed to be this code, right? There's supposed to be this undying, unspoken code that we're all supposed to adhere to somehow. And what bothers me about these certain types of codes is that they're not meant to benefit you at all as a black man. It doesn't. The no snitching rule is just an excuse for people in the community to run around, continue to abuse you and others, but you can't snitch about it. You got to have balls big enough to deal with the folks who are doing shit to you within the community, don't get the police involved and so forth. And hopefully you live. Otherwise, no snitching. Just take everything we're dishing out. Don't snitch. They don't get to follow the rules. You may be following the rules. You get abused. You get hurt. You get deleted. But it's all in the game though, right? Or you continue to get disrespected by people who are quote unquote leaders in the community, who are trying to steer black folks on the right path. But then when you find something wrong with them or something they've been doing wrong consistently for decades, you're not allowed to speak about it. You're not allowed to talk about it. You can't make anybody look bad on the world stage because, hell, I don't know, they're black. I mean, seriously. Like, what are we supposed to do? If you feel like you've been wronged, you have no recourse to fix anything. And that's essentially what we're doing here by making these stupid ass statements. But stay on code. Don't do this. Don't do that. It doesn't matter what these black folks do to you. Don't you ever talk about what happens in the black community to other people outside the community. And that's bullshit, because sometimes you need a little pressure or peer pressure to get people to act right. What happens when you remove peer pressure? You get people who don't even think about their decisions and do what they want to do. That's what happens. But when you got folks who are upstanding citizens who have money and influence and can throw their weight around against all this foolishness, because that's essentially what they want to do. They want to limit the people who can check them, period. That's all they want to do. Like me, myself, I can check Umar. I can check anybody who's in the pro-black space based on what they're doing, how they live their life. And when you do so, they'll come at you like this individual here and say, that's how you look, not being on code. They throw out this magical code that nobody really adheres to. Because if you want to be real, staying on code means not having a bunch of babies out of wedlock. Staying on code as opposed to, jumping out here and getting all your shit together and improving your community means that you keep your legs closed. But none of the pro-blacks will ever say that. Stop letting Pookie and Ray Ray shoot up the club. Stop effing D-boys. Stop going on hot girl summer, girls trips. Now, when it comes to the code that you're talking about, and I explain this, it seems like only one side has to deal with the code. Stay your ass out of prison. Go off to college. Make something of yourself. Bring your money back to the community and help others. Spread your knowledge. Take some of these young boys under your wing, even though you're not kin to them. Be a stepdaddy. It's always one-sided. But I'm not on code because I call it out.
Sit there and talk shit to you. Have y'all not noticed how he talks to you when you don't donate? How many of you that he's talking bad about? Telling you to accept certain...
Now, I posted a video about what he's doing in his back office after he said something to black men about what we're doing or not doing for the community. But yet this entire time, Umar hasn't been on quote unquote the code that y'all want to hold me to this entire time. Talking shit to black men on the world stage, going on DJ Vlad of all people, and I'm not on code. DJ Vlad gets more exposure than most people on YouTube. This man is filthy rich off of giving interviews to rappers and anybody who come along who has a hell of a story to sell instead of platforms with black men on them. DJ Vlad is a culture vulture, but I'm not on code. I get called a coon, a clown, Sambo, for trying to correct the behavior that could improve you versus behaviors that'll hurt you.
Circumstances, and then give him your money. Some of y'all have lost your goddamn mind.
And what's funny about this video, they placed this particular video into the anti-bullying thing on TikTok. Now, some of those responses didn't reach me because they placed my video into the anti-bullying. That goes to show you how much vitriol that some of our folks have for me as a black freaking man who's been to combat, who served his country, who came out the hood, changed his life, served this country, and continues to serve this country by building infrastructure. This is how y'all talk to me. That's bullshit. Umar ain't done shit in 20 years. But figure out how to get money off people, spend your money on strippers, cocaine, and whatever else. Talk bad to black women and what he wants to do to them like a damn predator. And yet I'm not on code. I'm the asshole. Where the smoke at?
I just saw this comment.
Where the smoke at? I ain't seen nobody pop up in my back office yet. Where's the smoke? Y'all got all this time to put up all these slick comments and everything else. Where the smoke at? Why won't you come in here and talk to me one-on-one like a grown-ass man? Or woman, however you want it. Where is it? I know this stream is too impromptu. I know a majority of people do watch YouTube, and I know a lot of people that's in my subscriber list do not like me. But for the ones that do, I appreciate you. Thank you for dropping your comments, dropping your likes whenever you see a video. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the detractors right now. But where is it? Where's the lie I've told? Have I said anything that is not true? I haven't even pulled out a statistic. This is all common sense. This is the way I operate. This is not news. This is common sense. It's in the name.
So please explain to me how I'm lost. No, I'll wait. See, what I did was something that a lot of people won't do. I used my expertise and peeked into Umar's back office. And yeah, I'll admit, I grew up in the hood. I have no problem with that. I tell anybody, I grew up in the hood. Left for the Army at 17. Did 22 years. Then came out, got into, I have a degree as well, got into construction. I've been all over the place. I've experienced different cultures. I've lived overseas. I've done a lot of things. So how am I lost? I've done more in my lifetime than most people will. So again, I'm wondering, how am I lost? Some of us can see the truth. And looking at Umar's paperwork and him just running his mouth, like so many other people that y'all claim are our leaders, look into their background. Some of the things they've done, they haven't done anything but run their mouth. That's all they've ever done, is run their mouth. At least on my side, I tell people things they can attain. It doesn't take much to fix the community. All people got to do really is be productive. And the community could be the hood. It could be where you live in the suburbs, because hell, I live in the suburbs. It could be in the city. It can be anywhere you live where you're surrounded by black folks. That is your community. So, if everyone is being productive as a collective, then things should improve over time. Now, what I do is I show people things, or show people what I actually do for a living as a O1 electrician. And there's other trades that folks can get into instead of getting into a bunch of college debt. I'm not being self-righteous. I'm just sharing what I know and what I've learned. I share what you can actually attain. This ain't about me. It's about me speaking to people like you and through you to reach the next group. Because everybody ain't gonna make it. Everybody's not gonna live in a big ass house, white picket fence, whatever that American dream is. Not everybody's gonna do it. But what you can do is earn a lot of money. That way you have the capital to invest and change your circumstances. That's one of the things that I think y'all missed in my response in that video.
All right, now, I received a lot of pushback even on that video. You can see the marker at the bottom, hopefully. Matter of fact, let me adjust this so you can see how far I've gone into this video. And where's the lie? Where is the lie? Seriously, where's the lie? What about that statement is the lie, but I still get pushback? This is why I say that a lot of people in the community are lost. Like, where's the lie? If you make more money, give me a second, let me gather myself. Woosah. All right. So one of the arguments I've heard in the last few years, or one of the things that people go for in the last few years, they talked about generational wealth, okay? We don't have any generational wealth. We can't attain generational wealth. We can't do anything about generational wealth, okay? But when you break down that statement and you talk about it, right, and really think about how do you get there, right? There's this thing called backwards planning. I know some of y'all haven't heard this phrase before. If you've been in the military, we know it. Where you start with the desired result in mind and you work yourself backwards from that goal through the steps in order to get there. So if I want to make $1 million off investments, I will start with $1 million. Step down from that is to invest in your money. Step down from that is research. Step down from that is getting your money. Step down from that is your job. So then you reverse the order, getting a good job, then doing some research, then investing your money, then putting it into the markets, and then you get your $1 million. That is the reverse planning method in a nutshell. You start with your desired result in mind, and then you arrive at said result. Backwards planning is a great tool because it allows you to visualize the end before the beginning, which is easier to attain than starting with the beginning. And then, sometimes people get bogged down thinking about the beginning instead of planning backwards. Now, continuing on.
Or maybe it was a video prior. But a lot of us are not at the same station in life. I'm just sharing what I know. And listening to Umar's raggedy ass while he's bashing us for not doing enough is bullshit. I'm tired of listening to it.
Go back to my video catalog, look at the videos, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. I'll show you what he acquired those buildings for, his permits, and what he's done so far. It's just a dog and pony show. And when his ass eventually goes to jail, you come back here. Yeah, you ain't gotta say it. I'm not gonna say I told you so. Just know that I know. I just saw this comment. So, all right, now where's the lie on what I said? Where is it? I want people to come in here right now and tell me where's the lie. What did I do wrong? Where did I get it wrong? And nothing I said and assumed anybody was a thug. I used to be a thug. I used to be Pookie Ray Ray incarnate. But after seeing so many people die and shit like that, sadly, it took things like that for me to look up and down the block. Like, you know what? I do not want to sit on this stoop for the rest of my life wondering where the next dollar going to come from. So I guess you can say that certain things happen for a reason. Because yes, I used to run with the knuckleheads. We used to joyride cars. I'll say that. Yes, there was D-rugs everywhere. That's the environment you grew up in. Not my mother's fault, not my father's fault. I mean, it's just what they had to do to get by. So we ended up in that environment because that's what they could afford. But for those of us coming up now, we have the ability to change our circumstances. And that's all I try to do here. And this individual, being facetious, tried to make it out like this is a problem I have with a lot of dudes, because some people know not to even try this crap, but what a lot of dudes do is they try to challenge you like a man with their words, and a lot of them are inadequate of doing so. So that's the reason why he said he's the only righteous black man. But I never said anything close to that. I never claimed to be that. I can't be the only righteous black man because I've done a lot of dirt in my lifetime, and I'm well aware of that fact. That's why I don't speak like I don't understand. I speak to help you understand. I'm not here to make fun of people. I'm not here to belittle you. But if there's an opportunity where I can help you advance beyond your current station in life, I will give you that information. I'm not going to make you do anything. And if you stay at that certain level, that's on you. Not my problem anymore, because I did my job as an elder, because I'm not talking to people my age. I'm talking to people younger than me, to include my two sons.
Today, January 6th.
All right, you already saw that one. All right, so that's all we got on TikTok. Let's go over here to YouTube. I promise I won't be on here too much longer. We're already at the 2-hour mark, and I'm still getting stuff on here. Let's see what we got here. Let's go to this video in particular. So this is one of the videos I posted, and I'm gonna try to pause it as soon as it pops up. And it's being a bitch. All right. Where you at? There we go. And then I'm gonna pause it right there. All right. Let's see what we got.
You can tell to this application.
All right. I can't see everything on the screen.
Malaseca. By the strength of looking at it, or Mexican guy.
And I'm trying to back us up there. For some reason, I got Forbes. Here we go. All right, so since I'm using my iPad to connect to the computer, sometimes it will skip around a bit. I can't see everything where I'm fast forwarding to. So I do get a lot of pushback on my YouTube channel. And hopefully I can show you my YouTube comments. Or better yet, I may have to go to my shared screen. Where you at? Where you at? Ah, here we go. Perfect. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to my channel here. And for some reason, my chat is on the right side. Give me 1 second. I got to take this phone call. All right. So I forget where I was, but we were discussing the smoke that a lot of people have for me on this channel. As you can see the name of the video right here. Let me switch to my shared screen. Disregard the comments. I wish I can get rid of those. Where's the comments at? All right, so on the channel, you see the title of the video. It says Dr. Umar, what school? And you can see the rest of the smoke from there. I've been on here long enough. Just browse through some of these comments, and you'll see that I've pinned quite a few of these guys, especially on the shorts that I've done on my channel, where people just want to just ignore what the truth is, and they just want to do what they want to do. You know, ignorance is bliss, and some folks just take pride in being ignorant. Some folks like being ignorant, and when you disturb their peace and being ignorant, it does something to them. It incites anger. Nobody wants to know that they've been had. Nobody wants to know that their heroes have taken advantage of them. Nobody wants to admit that they've been taken for a fool. Nobody. Testing. I just want to make sure my microphone is working. But nobody wants to be taken advantage of or be made a fool of. Let me pause that. Nobody. And it's being stupid. Okay. Nobody. But this is the short that I got a lot of views on. Wasn't intended to. I just put it out there. I'm not here looking for views and stuff like that. I just put the information out, and people still want to come at me. And I even pinned this particular comment because this is the sentiment that I get from people trying to follow the wrong people. It takes a lot to build a school. Won't you go help him out instead of trying to slander, bro? Offer some assistance, maybe, or to build a school for our children. You, Mr. Construction Man. And this is F out of here. All right, cool. You're entitled to your opinion, but you're not entitled to a nice response. I will say that. Watch the full video is what I said, and check his website for yourself. I even posted in there so you can copy and paste and go watch the entire video, which I just showed you a minute ago on this. Yet there's still nobody here. There's still no smoke. Nobody showed up in the back office. Nobody showed up in the green room. Nobody here, nobody there. The only person that showed up was A. Rye, who was my top commenter. The only person that stuck around the stream. I've seen people pop in and out. I've seen the numbers go up and down. I've seen it. I don't miss a thing. I got 6 screens in front of me. If you seen my TikTok, you seen where I was showing the screens and stuff like that. I see everything. I do have a hacker background / programmer background, and I can look into a lot of things. What you view, what you look at, and there's ways to tweak the algorithm, CSS, HTML to look at what you've seen on your computer, and I can gauge what you actually look at. And if you follow Dr. Umar, you follow a lot of people in the conscious community, more than likely. But he is the last person you should be taking a look at. But what I really want to address is people who have a problem with me. There are thousands of people like me, if not millions, who have their own brain, who are doing well for themselves, who can think for themselves, who have a lot more to offer than Umar has. I've done more for the black community, whether you know it or not, than most people. If you are a productive black man, you've done more for the community than Umar has. Because all you got to do, and it's not like there's this super huge requirement for improving the community, because all anybody has to do as a collective is do their part. If you have 1,000 moving pieces and everyone's doing their part, guess what? You got a collective of people who are improving things. People who operate in this society can be like a well-oiled machine. If 97% of the community is operating the way they're supposed to, doesn't matter what ethnicity, race, color, creed, whatever, if 97% of people, if less than 10% of people are operating properly, it improves society as a whole because the 90% can make up for any setbacks that this small 10% does. But in the black community, we have a kind of difference of opinion where you can say that the majority at a minimum is 51% are doing the right thing, and the other percentages are either doing completely going the wrong way, somewhat doing the right thing, or straddling the fence. So, as long as everybody does what they're supposed to do, without a shadow of a doubt, the community will improve. You don't need no savior. You don't need no bearded dude with dreads with a cape on, like Static Shock or something, doing the most to save everybody. It is an individual responsibility to take care of you and your household. That's it. It's not on anybody else. And that's one of the things we got to get away from, putting everything on everybody else but yourself. You got fucking babies by 4 different dudes, that's on you. You going in and out of prison, that's on you. You are responsible for your own actions. And if you're not helping the collective and being a productive member of society, I got no love for you. I don't. We live in the information age. Anything you want to know is a simple Google search away. And it's right in the palm of your damn hand if you have the means. Libraries are still free. The internet and the library is still free. Folks in prison are getting degrees and learning how society actually operates, and they come out and do well for themselves. So what's your excuse when you're walking around free? Instead of blaming everybody for everything going wrong in your life, how about you take some personal accountability? I hold everybody in my circle accountable. I hold myself accountable. I have no problem admitting my mistakes. Starting off as a knucklehead, that was a mistake. When we all knew right from wrong. I'd be a lot further in life had I started off on the right path as opposed to taking the wrong path and then trying to correct it later. I'll admit that. I'm no self-righteous individual. I don't believe I'm better than anybody, but if I can help you, I will. But at the same time, I also know I'm better than a lot of people who've never stepped on the right path and who are veering off sideways. So if you got smoke for me, leave it in the comment section. I'll address it. Since a lot of y'all didn't want to show up tonight, didn't want to show up today, too busy watching playoff games when there's more important things, I'm here. And I will be here. But that's all I got for y'all today. Been on here for almost 3 hours. Almost 3 hours. Talking to my damn self almost. Explaining why your beef with me is misplaced. Sorely misplaced. You got anything else, man? You let me know. I'll catch you on the flip side.